In a world where trust is shattered and love is tested, one channel dares to uncover the untold stories of heartbreak and betrayal. Welcome to Heartbreak Chronicles, where real-life tales of infidelity are unraveled, secrets exposed, and lives forever changed. Join us as we navigate the complex world of relationships, offering support, understanding, and a place for those who have faced the pain of betrayal. Subscribe to Heartbreak Chronicles now, because every story deserves to be told, and every heartbreak deserves to be heard. Story 1. I cheated on my BF of 3 years. I apologize in advance, this is going to be a long one. I cheated on my BF of 3 years. Some background on our relationship. My boyfriend and I met during the worst year of my life. We met around the time my mother was diagnosed with cancer. The year that ensued consisted of my having to drop out of school, quit my job, and become her primary caregiver. My dad decided to leave at this time. They were still married, but they had a hateful relationship all my life. My boyfriend stuck around like the amazing person he is. I was a mess, always angry at the world, heartbroken, the whole shebang. I had no business being in a relationship at the time. I tried breaking up with him several times due to my emotional turmoil. I felt a lot of guilt that he was experiencing this with me when he didn't have to. Fast forward, my mom passed away a year after her diagnosis. 2 weeks after, my dad kicked me out of the house and I moved in with my boyfriend. Entering the second year of our relationship, I was obviously deep in grief. He would often wake me up from nightmares where I was screaming and crying. This happened for about the entire second year of our relationship. Entering the third year of the relationship, I started feeling better. I got into therapy after being put on a 9-month wait list. I started working again and doing things that provided me peace. I had gone back to school at this time. I graduated in the summer of 2023 after doing an abroad internship for 2 months. Then I traveled for 1 month for leisure before coming home. I slipped into a deep depression while abroad, probably slept for 3 weeks straight at one point. I decided to continue my internship in another country to try to counteract my depression. I went about trying to find my peace again through my episode. It helped, but then I had a conversation with my whole dad. Some details, it was extremely emotional for me. He met another woman in another country and was starting a life in another country. I have severe abandonment issues, and hearing this triggered that all over again. My dad emotionally abandoned me all my life. My mom abandoned me, although not her fault or choice, along with other things unrelated to this story. Why would my dad rather start another relationship and not mend the one with his daughter? Was I not worth it? I'm a good person, successful in many ways, and have always tried offering olive branches to him to allow us the opportunity to have a relationship in any way. He told me he knew for a long time that he had an immature personality disorder with schizophrenic tendencies. I never knew this. I was devastated by the whole conversation. Not to mention my mom's second death anniversary was days away. I was a shell once again and reliving ugly grief and feelings of unworthiness. I cried all night. The next day, an old coworker messaged me. He was always flirtatious with everyone at work. It was honestly not something I was worried about or felt disrespected by because he was just like that. But the conversation went from saying what's up to basically sexting. I didn't send any pictures or, like traditional sexting, say what I would do or want to do or whatnot. It was more of the lol okay type of situation or the sarcastic wow it's bigger than I thought put down about 1 DCK pic he sent. He did most of the talking honestly, but I didn't stop the conversation or say no. I continued to entertain it mostly because I was bored in the airport. At the time, I felt really numb to the conversation I was having. It lasted about 1 hour in total, 2 separate conversations because I had to get on the plane. The second conversation though, at the end, I told him that I had a boyfriend and I loved him very much. He was the love of my life. He replied along the lines of, well, when y'all break up through. I told him he wished I loved my boyfriend and I planned on marrying him. He responded something similar to, yeah, my bad, I was just bored and lonely, and mentioned he was looking for a girlfriend and sorry basically. Out of pity, I told him that he was a great guy, that he would find someone good for him, and that I'd date him. I'd worked with him for like 3 years or so I did sort of know him and he wasn't a bad person. I was in no way attracted to this guy, to be clear. It was messed up. All of it. I regretted it. I felt like that snapped me back to reality, and with a clear head, I knew I messed up. I was going home in 3 weeks. I hadn't decided how I would tell my boyfriend or if I should tell him. I kept the conversation on my phone in the hopes of talking to my boyfriend about it. Fast forward, I got home. 2 days in, I was just so happy to be home. I love this goddamn man, I really do. I still didn't know how I was going to bring it up, but I knew we needed to talk. That night, my BF went through my phone and found it. I noticed he was out of bed in the middle of the night and went to go find him, not thinking much. I was sitting at the dining room table. He asked me, what is this? His face broke my heart. I sat down slowly and I said, I know what you're looking at. We need to talk. We went into the bedroom to have this conversation. I was open and honest about everything. I knew that if this was going to work, everything needed to be on the table. It was heartbreaking for both of us. We are strictly monogamous people. I didn't think I was capable of doing this, let alone to him. He tried breaking up with me, but I begged him to try. We had to try. He agreed. For the next 2 months, he kept asking for space. He needed to sort his thoughts. I went to therapy to get to the bottom of why I did what I did. We came to the abandonment conclusion along with the depression and anniversary. It was a rough several sessions. While I was figuring out my shit, he was dealing with his emotions. We hadn't worked on much in those 2 months because I was trying to respect the space he asked for, assuming that once he was ready, we could talk about it, make changes, come up with a plan to rebuild trust and try to go to couples therapy. He didn't want anything to do with therapy. Instead, he ultimately decided he could not get over this broken trust. He basically kicked me out early this month. I had all my stuff moved out by mid-month. I still think we can make it work, but it doesn't seem like he wants to. He says he still loves me and wants to be with me, but he can't. I should also mention he has had a lot of trauma from physically cheating partners in the past. I can't blame him for the decision he has made, but I cannot express enough that he is the love of my life and I would never do something like this again. I don't know what to do. Do I give it more time? Do I just walk away from this? Do I fight for us? I'm trying to respect his wishes, but also have an overwhelming feeling that we can get through this. I hate myself for what I've done to us. Any advice and thoughts would be much appreciated. Story 2. Caught wife cheating after 15 years. I'm 45, been married for 15 years to wife. We have 2 kids and I don't know how to really start this, so here we go. Me and my wife were childhood friends, not like we were close cause we really didn't notice each other much until high school after mutual friends started dating, and we saw each other a lot more after that. At first we were friends, and then after I grew a pair of nuts I asked her out and she said yes. We started dating out last 2 years of high school and planned to go to the same college, but after figuring out that her school didn't offer the same program I had to head to another one. We tried long distance for a while, but I really didn't work, so we called it a quit while we were in college. After a few years and I graduated from school, we surprisingly bumped into each other during a visit back home. Conversation sparked up a passionate interest, so we stayed in contact, talking almost every day and reigniting each other's passion into each other, and it wasn't long where she had moved into my apartment. Now during this time she had a male friend that I called him, and he was extremely attractive. Like, this guy is a player and I kinda didn't trust him. Okay, I'll be honest, I didn't trust him at all, and I hated that my girl was his friend, and had many conversations about this, and she promised me, damn near swore to God himself, that she had no romantic feeling for this guy and they were strictly friends, and that if I really trusted her that I wouldn't worry, believing that I should trust her and know that she wouldn't do anything to sabotage what we are building. Let's fast forward. At this point my work and home life is competing with each other. The kids need me for this, but I have this and that to do by the end of the week, and I'm not gonna lie, I made my mistake maybe leaning too hard on her or not telling her how much I appreciated her, but I always thought it was implied. So one day I come home from work, and as I walked in I hear her laughing and giggling. As I head into the kitchen I noticed she was cleaning the dishes and him was sitting at the island talking to her. As I walked into the room a slight quietness entered with me, almost like I was the guest in my house, but they both quickly greeted me, not suspiciously, but enough to fill the silence. Now me and him wasn't friends, but we had have a conversation on my uncomfortable feeling about him and my wife, and it wasn't long or combative. It was short and simple, but after a few minutes he left and it was me and my wife. And now at this point I don't know if she was already with him or she was just mad at me for not helping out a lot, but when I went in to get close to her or show her some intimate touch, she rejected me with "I'm tired, had the kids all day." Or she would start a random argument about something that was so small. This has been happening for the last 6 months until I just got to the point and asked, is there someone else? And this hell broke loose. She called me every name in the book and even brought up some insecurities that I had, and if that wasn't a sign, she didn't talk to me for about a week after that. At this point I knew there was something going on, so I knew I had to figure it out, so I booked her a spa day on my day off and made sure she was completely pampered. And while she left the house, me and an electrician buddy placed small cameras around the house. She came home smiling and even gave me some attention. I thought that maybe the spa day was all she needed, some time to wind down. It was almost like back in the day while it lasted. So after 2 months of recording I didn't find anything, and I was so happy, feeling like a dumbass for putting these cameras in my house, so I stopped watching the cameras for a while. They were just there, completely out of sight, out of mind. Until one day I get a notification on my phone telling me that something in the house was ajar or something like that, so I thought I checked the cameras since I can see if one of the kids had broke something. As I flicking through the camera I stopped on my front door, noticing a black pair of shoes next to another pair, as it didn't look like none of my shoes, so something in me said go to the bedroom camera. As I look at that camera there was no one in there and the bed was still made. For some reason I just kept flicking through the camera, and then I caught my wife coming out the laundry room with him behind her. She fixed her clothing and he was buckling his pants. My heart shattered as I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Everything inside of me wanted to go home and deal with both of them. I'm not gonna lie, but I thought about my kids and how losing both parents won't benefit them, so I shut everything in my office, and ashamed to say I cried. Can't say how long, but long enough where my eyes felt like they were swollen. And after that I knew what I had to do, so as I'm heading home I'm trying to compose myself for this argument that I know was coming. I called a friend of the family and asked if the kids could stay over for a while so that we can talk. They agreed, and as I arrived home My wife was cooking and I can still smell that food like a prisoner last meal. As I sat down, it was a silence. As I looked at her, I pulled out my phone and showed her the video of her and him coming out the laundry room, and all I said, why at first tried to lie even with video evidence, but after a while pursuing it, she finally broke and told me the truth, that her and him has been sleeping together the last 3 years we've been married, and she could be pregnant with his child, and that she's sorry I had to find out like this, but since it all out, she wants a divorce. It hit me hard cause I came from a broken family and never wanted my kids to feel the struggle of separated family, but after hearing that I got up and went upstairs as I felt defeated. I've worked my ass off and did all I could to place this family on a pedestal, and it felt like someone just kicked it from under me. I wanted to harm myself so bad when I figured that out, but God works in mysterious ways cause my daughter called me and told me that she loved me. Story 3. My ex-wife dropped back into my life after 6 years. My ex and I met in college and were madly in love all 4 years in school. Got married after graduation in 2010. In 2013 I caught her in a year-plus affair with a coworker. I was crushed. She said they loved each other, soulmates, and didn't mean to hurt anyone, blah blah blah. We divorced only 3 months later. I was crushed. Worst time in my life. I mourned for over a year. I heard they got married. One day I decided I was tired of being sad, so I completely let go of her in my heart, got off my butt and truly moved on. I'm a programmer by profession and decided to take a pre-sales solutions consultant gig with one of the biggest software companies on the planet. That job has been amazing. I've traveled the entire world, every continent and all the major cities. Life has been a great adventure. I never did date seriously or remarry. I'm not opposed to casual dating and have dated beautiful women all over the globe. After my experience with marriage, I decided that wasn't my path and have been happy. Sometimes lonely, especially during holidays, but overall happy. I had decided enough traveling for a while, so I switched roles and am based in a major city in the US. I'm sitting in a diner on a Saturday morning eating breakfast and reading the news, Facebook, Reddit, etc., and somebody says, "Oh my God." The voice sounded like one of my female friends at work, so I looked up to say hi and my jaw dropped. It's my ex-wife. Here I am 2,000 plus miles away from our old hometown, haven't seen her in almost 6 years, and there she is. I was dumbstruck. All I could manage was hi. I hate to say it, but she looked beautiful. She said I looked amazing. She asked if I was busy and that she didn't want to bother me, but that she'd love to talk. I said sure. We ended up talking for over 2 hours and continued for another couple of hours when we went for a walk in a nearby park. We were making small talk about mutual acquaintances, my stories of traveling the globe, everything but the elephant in the room. She finally asks me if I had gotten remarried at any point. I said no, once was enough. She seemed sad by that. We walked in silence for maybe a minute and she said, "I have to say that I'm so sorry for what I did to you. You didn't deserve it. It was incredibly shitty and has haunted me since it happened. You didn't do anything wrong." I said, "You fell in love with someone else and married them. I couldn't stop you from doing that. I wanted you to be happy." Then I asked, "Are you happy?" She laughed, one of those joke laughs, huh? She told me the and her fought constantly and he ended up cheating on her and leaving her 2 years into marriage. I said, "I'm sorry that happened to you. I know how bad that can hurt." She said she knew that when her heart was broken, all she could think of was that she had done the same thing to me and that tortured her. She said she fell apart for almost a year, engaged in very self-destructive behavior, and then went to therapy to figure out why she's so screwed up. She said that was extremely helpful, and several years ago she finally grew up and holds herself accountable for her own actions now. She had ended up moving to this city because she has an aunt that she loves that lives there, and after her second divorce before age 30 she needed to make big changes in her life. The changes were noticeable. She's definitely more mature. I had to go and get ready for the evening with friends, so we said our goodbyes. We exchanged contact info and agreed to go have coffee and talk more. We have been doing that. We're both single. I guess there's no harm. I can tell she wants more from me. She wants me to want her back. She drops hints as big as the Pacific Ocean. I'm not dumb. I have to admit she still has that certain something that just makes my heart skip a beat. Something I can't describe. Something I hadn't found in anyone else since her. I guess it's chemistry between us. To be honest, I want to be more than friends. I want to hold her and kiss her. She wants that too, but as of yet I've made 0 moves. What holds me back? Fear. I'm afraid of getting hurt again. If she had been a casual girlfriend that dumped me, I would have shook it off and moved on quickly. She wasn't though. She was my wife and the love of my life. I used to dream of her somehow coming back into my life. Well, here it is and I'm scared shitless. I don't know if I can give her that much of myself again. I'm way more protective of my heart now. We've both grown a lot and the past seems like 100 years ago. If she wasn't who she is, I'd already be head over heels in love. I struggle with, do I pursue love with her again or do I leave the past in the past? It sounds cliche, but it just had to be her. Of all the people I could have met here, it had to be her. Update posted March 6, 2020. I've gotten so many requests for an update. I have one but was hesitant to post because in this sub I'd take a lot of grief. The update is we got remarried over the Christmas holidays and we're now pregnant. She has grown a lot as a person. So if I were not kids anymore, We're in an adult relationship and it's much better than before. Throw in the chemistry we've always had and it's wonderful. I couldn't be happier. I do want to address the accusations that she tracked me down. She didn't. She had moved to our current city before I did. She really had moved on, went to therapy, and had grown a lot as a person. I just happened to be in that diner. We think it had to be fate or some type of intervening force. Neither of us are religious, but the astronomical odds of us running into each other, both single, and in a city neither of us had ever lived in, are hard to ignore. Obviously the universe had a plan for us. I wish all of you good luck. My only advice is don't close your heart. You never know who will stroll into your life. Story 4. Discovered my wife of 17 years has been texting another man for 1.5 years and hiding it from me. This is a throwaway account. I apologize in advance for the wall of text, but there's a lot here. To give you the backstory, my wife and I have been married for 17 years and have 2 children. We were high school sweethearts who got married just after college. Our marriage has been mostly solid with no major issues, no splits, no abuse, no cheating, no dead bedroom, etc. I've never had much reason to doubt my wife in the past and don't snoop on her phone, email, etc. I have a high-stress job that requires me to work a lot. I'll admit that I've started reading our relationships a relatively short while ago and, to be honest, I felt like it was making me a little paranoid about infidelity. In addition, my wife has been acting a little strange lately, i.e., being more guarded of her phone, coming to bed hours after I go to bed, etc. So yesterday, I needed to submit my phone bill to my employer for expense purposes. We have to bring our own device and my employer reimburses us for a portion of our mobile phone bill as long as we submit the bill. I printed the bill and noticed it was longer than usual. With our provider, the bill lists all of the calls and texts you make during the month. So I start flipping through the bill and get to my wife's phone and notice one number repeatedly coming up a lot. Like, there's literally an entire page of uninterrupted text just from this number. There are multiple entries where she was texting this person until 1 or 2 in the morning and one day where she texted continuously from 5:07 and then again from 9 to 11:30. Not only is the number not one I recognize, but it's not from our area code. It's from an area code in the same metro area as us, roughly 45 minutes away. So I punched the number into Facebook and some guy's name came up. I call it from my work number and voicemail states the same name. So I confronted my wife about it. She confesses to having carried on a non-romantic relationship with this person for a year and a half. She said she was lonely and went online on a website for people looking for non-romantic relationships. To be clear, she's had male friends in the past and we currently have couple friends that are MF and I've never objected to her talking to them. But she consciously hid this from me for a year and a half and during that period repeatedly lied to me when I would ask her who she was texting until 1 a.m. She insists nothing physical happened and that they've never even met in person and I'm inclined to believe her. She justified it to herself by saying that it never crossed that line. At the same time, I've been feeling very emotionally cheated on. She took a lot of time that she wasn't investing in our relationship and put it into a relationship with another man that she hid from me. I'm at something of a loss here. I make enough money that we don't have to worry about paying the mortgage if we split and I'm not worried about finding another partner if that happens. I love our kids as well and would really miss seeing them every night. That being said, I really feel like my trust was violated and don't know how I can recommit to spending my life with someone who would lie to me like that for a year and a half. Am I making too much of this? Edit to answer some of the obvious questions that I should have addressed from the start. Yes, she's extremely apologetic. Her initial response when I asked her about it was he's just a friend. I pushed on that and she's admitted that it was inappropriate and that she lied about it. She was extremely apologetic and said that she would do anything not to lose me. She texted him last night and told him that she can't be in touch with him anymore and deleted his contact information from her phone. If we stay together, we will absolutely do couples counseling. TLDR, discovered my wife of 17 years has been texting some other guy for a year and a half without my knowledge. Need to know what to do. Update. First, I'll start by apologizing again for the wall of text. There's a lot here and it may not be interesting to some, but it's cathartic to me. Second, before I start, I want to sincerely thank all those who commented on my post, but especially those who mentioned the iPhone recovery software. I owe you a huge debt. Your why Reddit is great. Okay, we left off Monday night with her admitting to an emotional affair with another man for 1.5 years, but saying that was it. After I posted on Reddit and people mentioned the iPhone recovery software, I phoned to tell her not to use her phone and that I was going to recover the information later that night. She immediately admitted to sexting the other guy. I got home and tried to run the software. For whatever reason, it didn't work well. It only pulled up portions of 350 texts and none of them seemed relevant. I decided not to pay $70 for the whole install and dropped the idea. I went out with a friend for drinks at 7 to discuss and he thought I should give my wife a second chance, as long as she had never met the other guy. I got home around 9:30. She was sitting with her best friend in the sunroom talking. I said an awkward hi to the best friend and went up to my office. My wife came up 10 minutes later and immediately started yelling at me, telling me that I basically needed to get over it. and that she wasn't going to feel like she had today for 6 months. I kind of flipped out, noting that I had known for 30 hours. After we finished yelling at each other, she left and I finished up my work and went to bed in the guest room. I woke up at about 1:30. I went into the master bedroom and grabbed her phone. I scrolled through the texts and emails, but there was almost nothing there as anything older than a day or so had been deleted. I felt horrible. I felt like I needed to be able to trust her, but continued to firmly believe she was lying to me and that there were things she wasn't telling me. I put the phone back in her room and then went back into the office. I googled iPhone recovery software and saw a couple results that looked interesting. I went back into the room and grabbed her phone again. This time she woke up and followed me into the office. I paid more attention to the software this time. I turned the phone into airplane mode. I disabled iTunes autosync. I closed all the programs, etc. I ran the free test and it came back with 3,500 results, the 6th of which was from the other guy. I paid the $50 for the software and ran the full program. It took about 10 minutes, during which she continually tried to convince me not to look at it. Once I had the results, I started going through the texts. The good news was that there was nothing that suggested she and the other guy met. I had been in Europe from Monday through Thursday of last week and there were lots of recent texts. A lot of them were sexual, but none suggested they were meeting. Which gets to the bad news. I asked when they started sexting. She said October. I looked through the texts and found one from July. It was clearly from someone else anyway and was very sexually forward. There was also discussion of meeting up. So she trickle-truthed meeting up with 2 other guys from Craigslist. She said she fooled around with one of them, but that they met at a park, so they didn't have sex. At that point, I honestly felt like a huge weight had been taken off my shoulders. All of the doubt that I could trust her again became irrelevant and I knew I could move on with a clean conscience. Later that night, she trickle-truthed sleeping with the other Craigslist guy. Last night she admitted to sleeping with another guy in Alaska when she went there alone on vacation a year and a half ago. I do believe her that she didn't meet the guy she was texting continuously given the texts I read and that nothing seemed to happen when I was out of town for a week, but it doesn't really matter now. You can guess the postscript. She's been crying her eyes out and begging me to give her another chance. I plan on sticking together through the holidays for the sake of the kids, but we'll be moving out come January. TLDR, wife has been cheating on me. Thanks to Reddit, I busted her. Story 5. My girlfriend cheated on me but regrets it now hugely. TLDR, girlfriend lied and cheated extensively and has realized she has messed up badly and has issues and is therefore taking therapy and wants to be given another chance even if it takes a long time. I had been with this girl for 2 years now and I was madly in love with her. But since the beginning of 2022, we hit a sort of rough patch due to me going through some personal life problems. We weren't getting to meet much and we were having frequent fights over some petty things. Things kind of took a turn in February when she went to a friend's wedding where her group of college friends was there, and among them, her ex. To give a bit of context about her ex, he is an absolute C-word of a human being, and is like a walking red flag that everyone should avoid. She had broken up with him long back and even told him why, but whenever he texted, he always reverted back to how they should get back together and he is perfect for her. She eventually had blocked him last year. She unblocked him in early 2022 as she required some guidance from someone who works with IML, and he was the only one. She had informed me too and shown me their texts, and I could immediately see that he was low-key playing the long game to get her back. I told her that he hasn't changed, so she shouldn't get too chummy with him as he is clearly waiting. She said that she felt the same too, but I shouldn't worry as he has zero chance. Cut to February. After she came back from the wedding, I asked her repeatedly if anything happened when they saw each other. Did he make a scene or did he try to make a move or anything at all? She repeatedly said that nothing happened. It was a bit awkward at the beginning, but then they got to talking and they talked again properly like friends after a long time. She said he has changed and she can trust him, and all they talked about is life and career and all. I believed her. I was already going through a personal crisis and didn't have much energy to pay heed to this. Things started taking a turn when I started noticing that since the return from the wedding, she is talking to her ex way more than she used to. Her college friend group had 4 people, including her and the ex, and they were even planning a trip together. Now, as I have stated previously, we were going through a rough patch, and we seldom talked much in those few months outside of when we were playing together, and used to fight frequently over petty things. During one of these, I blurted out that I don't like how chummy and friendly she is getting with her ex, and I am not comfortable with her going on a trip with her college group of 4 people, as I don't trust her ex or her college friends. She repeatedly said that I need to trust her and that she will cut the ex off if he ever steps out of line, and has even told him so. This kind of went on, as I could see that in spite of me telling her I don't like this new closeness between them, she still refused to do anything about it. The fights escalated a lot. She kept blaming me that I am being insecure and unreasonable, and I kept trying to make her understand that it was not her, it was him I didn't trust to not make a move. And she kept saying that she would make sure that he is gone forever if he even tried. Their trip was cancelled, and it was replaced by him and the other girl from her group coming over to her house for the weekend. On the day of the visit, the girl opted out saying she had an interview, so it was just the ex coming to her house. I instantly felt that this was fishy and that the girl and the ex planned this to get him alone with my girlfriend. But then I felt that I was being unreasonable and overthinking this. Nonetheless, I let her know that I didn't like the turn of events, and she said to not worry. He can't do shit even if he tried, as her parents are home. He stayed at her house for the entire weekend and went out to meet their other friends in the city. She took the next Monday off from work because of a sudden plan made on Sunday night. He finally went away on Monday. Throughout this entire time, I tried to stop thinking about it, but I couldn't, and it was driving me crazy that her ex was getting to spend more time with her than I did in the last 2 months. I texted her incessantly initially during the time and asked her a lot of questions. Where was she? What did they do? And it pissed her off. We had a mini fight again and didn't text much since Sunday evening. Finally, after he went away on Monday, we had another big fight. I told her this was too much for me to take, as I was under tremendous stress at the time, and this added insecurity was getting too much, and so I needed a break. She said that I had no reason to be insecure, and she understands and respects my decision. So we decided to give each other some space. The weekend next to the one above was a public holiday. My girlfriend said that she will go and stay at the other girl's apartment for the weekend, and the ex will also come again, basically the sleepover that they were supposed to have at girlfriend's house. I tried harder to be chill this time around, and trust her. Didn't have any fights. We met up on that Sunday and had a lovely time. I was going away on a trip the next week with my friends, which I badly needed as I really needed to unwind and freshen myself up. We talked it out on Sunday, reaffirmed our love and agreed that this trip would be the cure that we need. What followed after this was a roller coaster of reveals. She kept lying and getting caught, and to cover it up, she lied more and it spiraled out of hand. It started from her saying there was nothing from her side, to yes, she did flirt a little and reciprocate his advances lightly, to they made out but she didn't want sex and he forced himself upon her at the wedding but failed penetrating, and again took advantage of her when they got drunk at the friend's apartment, to finally revealing that there has been full-blown cheating since January, when they had flirted and sexted on chat, had planned the trip to have sex, had been talking about breaking up with me, and had sex at her house as well as her friend's house. Throughout all this, she has stuck to the point that he forced himself upon her at the wedding though. She admitted that she had made a horrible mistake. Her version of the story is that she has deep-seated issues, which were also compounded by the manipulation by the ex and the college friends. Me and her had a clash over marriage, as I don't believe in marriage, coming from a broken household myself, and I told her that we need to be together and know each other and build our relationship for at least 5 years before we can think of marriage. She, on the other hand, wanted to get married, and my words apparently made her start having second doubts. This, compounded by the fact that I don't have a stable family, apparently racked up her insecurities and overthinking. And since we were also going through a rough patch in early 2022, she was already pretty vulnerable. And that is when the ex and the friends came into the picture. They repeatedly kept telling her that she would be way better off with him, as he is ready to marry her within 2 years, has a good family, and also, in their words, with me she is just a gamer girl when she could be so much more, and that I am dragging her down. Apparently, she even asked the other girl to not leave her alone with her ex because she doesn't want to make a mistake. And she also suffered from huge FOMO, so she kept listening to what they told her to do so that she can still be in the group. Anyhow, some more stuff happened after the breakup. I told all her school friends, who are genuinely good people and I know will actually help her. She realized how badly she has messed up and how badly she was manipulated. She has cut the entire group off and has started taking therapy. She is a mess now, depressed and crying all the time. So anyways, it's been 2 months now since the breakup. We are in different cities, but I will be in the same city again soon. She keeps saying that she knows how badly she has messed up, but she still loves me and can't bear to lose me, but also understands there is a lot of damage done here. So she says that that's why she wants to heal through therapy and get better and change, and asked me to give her a chance to at least regain the trust and see if she is changing and getting better. And if I feel like yes, she has changed, to at least give things another shot, even if it's years from now. So Reddit, what's your advice? Is this an objectively good idea or bad idea?